I get in my chair and it.
All right, you want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
Oh wow, that went a little bit shorter than I thought here. Well, anyway, we're here. Comic book spectrum time. It's comic book spectrum time. In a way, I kind of wish we were doing picture pages. Comic book spectrum, comic book spectrum, time to grab your crayons and your pencil.
I would have to try and move my rig setup. I'd either have to do it digitally
Yes,
and try
the
to
more
figure out how to hook my OBS
mm-hmm.
system to StreamYard, which I don't think I can do.
Actually, you can, because I know for a fact you could do OBS and you could do XSplit thing. What I have it. I forgot what it's called. XSplit stream something. I think I got.
I don't know what that is. I have OBS.
It's the competitor to OBS.
I have OBS because A, it's free, and B, I use it to when I'm doing my artwork digitally. I can record it on OBS and then just use my Corel digital editor.
XSplit Broadcaster. That's what it's called.
Okay. Hadn't heard of that one. So that's actually the only thing I use OBS for is just when I'm working, it's easier to record, because if I try to put my camera behind my shoulder, all you're going to pick up is my shoulder. I don't have
that's not good.
I don't have the proper setup to do the camera, to tilt it so I could film as I'm working on something at the draft board. The drafting table. So I don't do those draw along with me videos. That and my sketching today was the fastest sketches I have done in a while.
Oh, Pokemon. I was about to say
Pokemon. Which ones did you get?
Yeah, I was up here thinking Poke toys. It's like, what does that have anything to do with Gumby? It's like she's not into Gumby. It's like, oh, Pokemon toys.
Yes. Which ones did you get, darling?
So that tells me report cards probably came out.
And they got good marks on their report cards. Yay.
She said she got a Cubone and a Pikachu.
Ooh, love Pikachu. You have to say Pikachu just right, because if you don't, you can get in trouble. And there are different ways to say Pikachu. We had a half day and you're off tomorrow. Oh, okay. Way to go.
So today's comic book is going to be interesting because we're going to revisit the review that I couldn't finish. I couldn't finish on this past one because we got so much into the lore. It's like, who is married to whom and why? And why was this, and why was this not canon and that is canon? It's like, yeah.
Linda Carter.
Who would have thought that one character that I was trying to do a nice little intro would have caused that much controversy as far as what is canon and what is not canon?
Well, I don't have any reviews this week. As I showed you before we started, I am trying to get some artist trading cards done.
Yep.
And so I want to have anywhere between, I've got 2 done. I got 2 started. I would like to get another 2 to 4 done.
Mhm. Yeah.
Coughing as makes Windu scratches his chest. Okay. Okay. Got it.
Oh my goodness, that would be so cool if they actually did that in the movie where General
Oh,
Grievous had PTSD. It would be like it's out of PTSD. It's like Mace Windu shows up on the onto the scene, and General Grievous sees him and he just go like, it's like,
and and they do that. What is that thing from Kill Bill?
yeah. And it's too little Mace Windu, right?
Oh my goodness, that would be cool. That would have been. I don't think they could have gotten away with the music, but
Right.
that would have been cool.
It's like it's like that's in the cartoon. He doesn't cough until Mace Windu uses the Force aggressive.
Well, if nothing else will make you cough, that having your chest pressed will.
Yep.
I will say that.
This the so called Jedi killer. That was one of his things that he always would collect the lightsabers of Jedi that fell to him, and he would use them against other Jedi.
That's
So
true.
he would be like one of the few people that will wield anywhere between I think 4 and 6 at one time.
Leia, what do you think, girl?
Well, hold on, let me get you the big screen here.
You don't have to give me the big screen.
She has to be able to see it.
Okay, fine. Let me back it up so it's not all cloudy. That's Poison Ivy.
Hmm.
And then I also hold on. I can't get her clear unless I back her way up, and then it's kind of stupid trying to show. I did a Poison Ivy and I did a
Hardly, hardly.
yeah, Harley.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do another one that is Harley and Poison Ivy together, and then but that's gonna be a full size one. But I'll let you see it. It's gonna be for Courtney. It's kind of her gift for helping out this year. So I'm doing a 9 by 12 for Courtney of Ivy and Harley. And then I've got sketches ready to go for Storm and Spidey Gwen. I was also thinking I would do a Wonder Woman and
See what I did there? Copyright infringement free zone.
okay, I want to do a Wonder Woman. Who else should I do? I was thinking maybe She-Hulk.
You could do a She-Hulk. See, the thing is with She-Hulk, you have to be like, which one?
Ooh. Yeah, because I was also thinking Spider Woman, but it's like if I do a Spider Woman, I want to go back to my Spider Woman.
Yeah, you could do Jessica Drew.
you know but then the question is, because one of the reasons I'm doing is because I realize we get a lot of younger girls when they do the pose for candy, and I don't usually have anything that the younger girls can buy. And I thought this at least would be good. I would have some pieces that younger girls would see and they might want to get. You want me to do She-Hulk?
Yep, that's what she's saying there. Um, I'm just up here thought about it. It's like, nope, I'm not going to mention that to you because knowing you probably get into trouble
What?
doing characters like Una Raka from Froppy from like My Hero Academia.
I like Froppy.
Froppy
I
is a cool character, Sue.
it's what's the name of Big Titty Floaty Girl?
Una Raka.
Udarak. Okay, yeah. So maybe I'll do Big Titty Floaty Girl.
It's like you call her. Well, I don't understand why you call her Big Titty Floaty Girl. It's like
Because
the
she's
girl,
got big
the girl
and
came
she
from a
floats.
construction family. She came from a construction family, and she was like, my powers kind of help them, but
She got huge knockers and she floats. Big titty floaty girl. Really simple.
It can't be as worse as, oh, I can't see you, girl, until like the very last episode when her power ran out and you just see how she was all this time.
Naked. Well, she actually did mention that at one point that, she never wore a lot of clothes because you couldn't see her anyway.
No, well, she had to wear clothes for people to know that she was there. That was the whole problem. It's like nobody truly knew that she was there. It was just like, okay, I take off my clothes, I could go up in here, infiltrate this, and come right back out, put on my clothes, and nobody is, the wiser.
Leia, I am not attacking you. I just really like her, and I just call her Big Titty Floaty Girl because it's a little easier for me to remember. Okay.
Because her name is not really something that floats off the tongue.
Yes, and Big Titty Floaty Girl sounds cute. That's you in the pool, guys. I did not know that. Okay. I did not know that. So you can't blame me for something that I did not know about. I also then have to, because the finding stuff to base my artwork for Ivy and Storm and Spider Gwen and Harley has been easy enough.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see if I can find pictures that I can use for.
I know.
Some of the others.
Floppy, Uraraka, the old girl that has like the ears that could that deals with sound waves. I know there's a lot of pictures of her out there.
I'm much like Curly that can make things out of her body.
There's not a lot with her out there, but I know that you could probably find a few pictures where you could probably do something with that.
I think I might just do Froppy and Big Titty Floaty Girl. And maybe Squirrel Girl, because I like Squirrel Girl. She has to outthink
you need to do your favorite, which is Jessica Drew. I'm curious to see how you would do Jessica Drew.
I have to see. I don't have any of my old Spider Woman books.
You got the internet. You have the internet.
Now, see, when I flip a finger at you, I was about to say I'm going to have to run a search and see if I can find anything that I like, because I would like to do one of her, because one of the things Jessica could do was she could float.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't thwip. She floated. So I would like to see if I can find a piece of Jessica floating. And the hair for that classical, they did the hair a specific way. So it's just wanting to make sure that I can find something that fits that. Wonder Woman, she's relatively easy, though part of me wants to do World War II Wonder Woman.
So I go to mycomicshop.com and look at
the 50
OG covers.
Thank you.
See, that would be too late, because you do have Spider-Woman books over here that is supposed to give you next weekend. That'll be too late.
That'll be too well. Yeah, because I'd rather not. What I'm going to work on, if I have time to work on anything at the event, will be the Poison Ivy and Harley piece for Courtney. I want to get at least the basic sketch done, and if I bring my acrylic markers, I can get the underpainting done.
Mm-hmm.
And I have some gifts for you that I'm bringing. You will pick up when you drop off the. I will have your gifts plus the stuff for Cliff to give you.
Okay.
Thursday when you drop the badges off.
All right.
So
I was just thinking to myself, I have to make my other announcement. I want to make my other announcement Saturday. Okay.
If you have something you'd like me to do, Leia, or if the girls want me to do something, it was hard at first because I tried to do on a very small 2x3 card. I tried to get both, and I will not show it because it just looked like I was drinking. I drank like 3/5 of Mad Dog 2020 and smoked about 5 pounds of weed before I started drawing. It was horrible. Um, but I'm getting better
That
at.
image does not set well with me. You and Magdall 2020. I'm up there like,
Oh,
nah,
I've no, 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 no.
nah. It's like,
I
yeah,
have.
and you go back a lot further than I am. I was like, nah, she wouldn't even go out that way.
Oh, I have banged me some Mad Dog. I have. I will admit, I have banged me some Mad Dog. I don't like a lot of beer, unless it's Irish, and then there's only a couple of beers, Irish beers that I would drink.
See,
I don't like
that's
stout. I don't like Guinness at all. So
that's the thing. It's like growing up was like, you have parents that try to talk you out of drinking and everything, so they give you like your first sip and be like, don't ever ask again until you like you're of age. So it's like I grew up liking stuff like Miller High Light more so than anything. Everybody like, how come you don't want to drink Bud Light? Because that's water.
my dad loved Schlitz. And when he got up to watch wrestling on Sunday morning, I had to sit there and drink. And they used to sell them big old tall cans of
Yeah,
Schlitz.
yeah. That not the small. I forgot how many ounces is in those tall boys. That's what they call. They used to call them tall boys.
The tall boys, I think they were like 15, 20 ounces or something like
No,
that.
it was more than 20. It was more than
Yeah.
20.
I would have to drink. I would have to drink at least one of those with him. And after that, I really lost my taste for beer. You know. Oh, you like Pabst Blue Ribbon? There used to be a couple of buildings along Damon
See, now
that
you're going to make me
had.
go out and try to find me a can of Hams, which is no longer available. 'Cause I remember those stupid cartoon
Oh,
commercials.
with the bear from the
Yeah,
land of shining waters.
water.
Trying to make it
Yeah.
sound like they were Native Americans singing that stuff.
Yes.
With the tom toms, and the bear comes out, the water dries himself up, and it's like it's a bear. Why is he drying himself
Yep.
up?
Yeah, 2 cans of beer in one. Yeah.
Yeah, I hated that. I would have to wait until he would either fall asleep or go off to do something else. So I could go throw it up because I got to the point I really hated the taste of Schlitz because it wasn't. I guess because it wasn't a choice. It was you have to sit there and drink this beer. And it's like, why
It's like,
can't I just watch it? No, you
LA,
got
I
to
was
drink
like,
the beer.
LA, you're about to be officially one of us, and you cannot be one of us without having to do this.
Yeah. Like I said, the only beer I liked was Harp, which is an Irish beer. Um, and I really don't think I ever got to the end of one. I would maybe drink half, and then it was like, okay, that's all I need.
See, I went from Highlight to MGD, then every every so often I would go into like a Sam Adams or like a Heineken. But I was never really a big beer drinker. And then the worst beer that I ever had was that, what was it called? That Budweiser made, Sharps, the
Oh,
non-alcoholic stuff. That stuff
oh
was awful.
yeah.
That stuff was
The
awful.
only beer I ever had, American beer that I had a fondness of, was Lowenbrow, and not because of the beer itself, but because of the
The
jingle.
so-called German logo, the German lion logo, or whatever it
No,
was.
I just love the jingle.
Really?
Yeah, I just love the jingle. Tonight is kind of special. The beer we pour must be something more, and how. So tonight, let it be Lowenbrow. I don't
Right.
know. It was they sing it like you could see the guys in the bar playing that song.
See, we can't talk about Colt 45 because if you go to talk about Colt 45, you got to bring up things like Old English 800.
Oh no! Rock gut, man. Rock gut. Oh goodness.
Because like that's what Colt 45 always reminded me about. It's like, yeah, that was deep malt liquor, but
Ooh.
why did Old English 800 outlast it?
Because I think it was cheaper, and like I said, rock gut, And for a second there, I was channeling Dennis Hopper. Oh my
And then
goodness,
and
I
then
was
and
channeling
then
Dennis Hopper.
and then and then with Rhonda loves what it was called 211. I was like, yeah,
I never
it
heard of
sounds
that.
exactly like that. 211. It was
Two dollars and
it was
eleven
cheap.
cents.
Yeah, it was a cheap malt liquor beer. There, it was something that you could get rid of easily. It's like if you didn't have the stomach for old English 800, you got a 211. I was like, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But then again, I like things like Tecate and on a good day, if I want something a sweeter beer, that's when you get into the Corona. But Corona is not for everybody.
Yeah, no, it isn't. It really isn't.
It really is. That is a very, 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 very sweet beer.
I see. I guess I saw more Corona being drinking when I lived in LA than than living here.
Hmm.
But on this side of town, you don't see a lot of people drinking Corona. You see more people drinking Corona. You go downtown. You go start heading north or
Hmm.
northwest. You might see a few people drinking more Coronas. But it also depends on the bar, you know, because I used to be in a dart league, and we shot at a lot of old Irish bars. So um, those bars, they only had so many. There were only certain beers they would sell. So if I wanted a beer, it's like, oh, do you have any harp? And then we go, harp? It's like, yeah, I used to drink it in LA when I was part of the community there. And they were like, first one's on the house, girly. John Barleycorn was where I first the last place I had stout. I ordered Guinness because I'd seen people drinking it and talking about it, and I had it.
Ultra dark beer, and it's bitter.
Well, it's Guinness is under beer. There's a lot of different things. You have lagers, you have stouts,
Hmm.
and Guinness is a stout,
Yeah, which is the
and it's
darker.
basically just depending on where you get it, it's basically filtered scummy pond water with a bit of with foam. So he laughed on cue. Um,
Hmm.
but it's just I remember I got it. I gone to John Bar, and this is the original John Barley Corn on Lincoln Avenue,
Hmm.
which I understand is no longer there. But I gone because I used to go there sometimes to write. And so the first time I went, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna be like an Irish writer. I'm gonna have me a Guinness, and I got my notebook and took that swig of Guinness. And after I came
Hey,
out the bathroom,
you want to spit it out.
oh, I came out the bathroom. It's like I need an Alka Seltzer, and I need to go home to sleep. It was just like so much. It's like, nope, we'll be having my Irish writer experience. But they made great burgers at
Mhm.
Barleycorns make great burgers, and they did a decent clam chowder. So their clam chowder, it was supposed to be Boston clam chowder, which is the one with the cream base, and then New York clam chowder has more of the tomato base,
Right.
I guess. But their Boston clam chowder wasn't as creamy as other Boston clam chowders I had had. So, but it wasn't bad either. John liked it. The one time he got to have it, no, that wasn't John's. Charles, yeah, Charles liked it. But he only ate a bit of that and destroyed my burger.
I was just still thinking about what you just said. It's like, yep, that first stout, up here, it's like, man, that's just some bitter, very
It's
bitter beer.
I,
Ugh.
but I think I don't know. I think they drink it to remember when life was harder. you know?
see, that's the thing. It's like darker beers and bitter beers. See, that's just like Jägermeister. It's like, why do you want to drink cough
Um,
syrup, bitter ass cough syrup that just had
oh,
like this faint taste of liquor? It's just like, ugh.
and then it sneaks up on you because you're like, oh, okay, I'm done with this. And you toss it, and you try to find a way to toss it without everybody noticing you. And then a bit later, the alcohol hits the back of your brain, and life gets interesting.
And you're up there, it's like, hey, how come I can't walk straight now? I was walking fine a moment ago.
You know what it makes me think of?
How did the ground get into the air? Oh, I must have fell down.
Richard Pryor's old thing about the first time he took acid.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, "Yeah, I'm okay, ain't nothing." And then, yeah, and the guy over on the side going, "You be tripping, you be tripping." That's the experience. That's the experience. Oh my goodness. The girls are watching this. I am such a bad person because the
No,
girls
we're
are
fine.
watching.
We got the TVMADSLV, so we
Okay.
can talk about it. It's like it's not like people have been not been warned.
And I was supposed to be asking Leia if she wanted me to do a card. Did you want a card, Leia? If so, come whack at us. Let me know who you'd like, and I will do a card for you.
See, you're opening up that door where you're going to get me in trouble.
Why am I going to get you in trouble? Because you're the one who has to send it to her when it's
No,
done.
no, 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 no. It's not because I have to send it to her. Knowing them, they probably going to be like, "Yeah, we want a sketch cover."
Ah.
See, see,
Yeah, keep showing her.
she kind of got jealous about the X-Men homage that I did and a couple other sketch covers. And she's going to be like, "Yeah, you're going to do me one."
Well, I don't. If they're not sketch covers, they're just like little pictures, like you saw. So
You
it's
know,
not going to be
she wants the card, but she also wants the sketch cover.
okay. Well, he'll have to do the sketch cover.
See, that's why I say you're going to get me in trouble.
you know and if you're interested, and she says it's okay, it's up to Courtney because it's her piece. um Once I've done the Harley and Ivy piece, if you're interested, I will scan
They they
his bill.
they changed management. It's the Stony Beverage Depot used to, you know what that used to be,
No.
because she's out there googling stuff. The Stony Island Beverage Depot used to be the old Kenwood Liquors.
Ah, okay,
So
really.
she does not know the history of that place. So it's like, yeah, they
The
would
thing is,
have
the
him
Kenwood.
fear because it just recently changed ownership.
Yeah, but it's
Kenwood
called
Liquors was not one of those places that you really don't want to be going into at a certain time of day.
also, it's not even in Kenwood
Right. It's right.
because
It's at the
Stony
same way.
Island doesn't go to it. Stony Island just barely hits the southern side of Hyde Park, let alone it doesn't go anywhere near Kenwood.
Mhm.
It becomes Lake Park.
Yeah. It become well that far south you're into, I forgot what it was, outside of Chatham,
Stony Island,
because you have
once you
several different
have it,
smaller communities that Stony Island runs through.
yeah. Stony Island going north, once it hits 57th Street,
Hmm.
it stops being Stony Island and it
Right.
turns at that school
Right. And it becomes Lake
and
Park.
becomes Lake Park. So, it's like how Garfield, once it comes out of the park, becomes
Mhm.
55th Street. And because once it comes out the other side, once it comes out of Cottage, it comes out Washington Park at Cottage, it quits being Garfield and becomes 55th Street. And even
See,
going
no,
south.
no, see, no, because now you're making me think, because I want to say it's between Cottage and I want to almost say like Halsted. It's where
No,
it's where it
yeah,
becomes 50-50 again.
westward. If you go westward, it stops being Garfield at about Halsted or
You
so,
know,
and then it
Halsted or
turns,
Ashland or something like that. It was
yeah,
somewhere
and,
around
and
there.
turns back into 55th Street.
55th.
It's on
Mm-hmm.
because that was part of the Grand Boulevard plan,
Mm-hmm.
just like King Drive and Stony.
Midway Pleasant is the same way too.
Midway Plaisance, though that solidly belongs to the university.
And then once you get past, I want to say almost like State Street, or it's like State Street or somewhere close to the Dan Ryan. It's no longer that. It's
Well,
59. It's 59th being. It becomes 59,
yeah, because it's
or is it
what
King Drive, or is
no,
it King Drive?
it's King Drive because it doesn't become Midway Plaisance until you get to Cottage on the other side of, because that's Washington Park at 51st Street, and then 60th.
That's the other curve that goes around. But if you go straight across,
Okay,
it's still Midway Pleasant until you get, I think, to somewhere around either King Drive or State. I can't remember. It becomes 59th.
it's got. I think it becomes 59th when it comes out of King.
Okay.
Because after that, no, yeah, it's 59th once it comes out of Washington Park.
Park. Yeah.
It's 59th because the some streets start changing their names once you get into Washington Park. And then because Garfield isn't Garfield once you get into Washington Park, it becomes something else, and you kind of have to go with this thing, and you come out and you're on 55th.
For those who don't live in Chicago,
Chicago.
this is what I could tell you. For those who don't live in Chicago, it's hard to get lost in Chicago. Why? Because everything is laid out into a grid.
Yes,
It is really laid out into a grid, so you
un-
cannot really get lost unless you are like heading towards the suburbs or heading so far out of the city that the grid does not work anymore.
yeah, once you get past 95th Street to the south, and you get past, I want to
I
say
want to say
Hollywood to the north.
I want to say 119th to the south.
Well, no,
And
because once you get past 95th, if you're around State, you're coming over to Chicago State University and that park area. And then after 95th Street, if you keep going southward, the streets start changing.
the
it
grid
starts getting,
it gets a little bit more skewed because
yeah,
it
it
goes a little
starts
bit
getting a
off.
little wonky.
Right.
Because that was all originally suburbs, and then the city, this just like on the north side, those neighborhoods got brought into the city. Beverly Hills used to be a suburb, and then the city said, "Oh, folks with money, taxes."
Mm-hmm.
So Beverly Hills went from being a suburb to a Chicago neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's like that on the north side because there are
Well,
certain
they lost their
neighborhoods on the
village
north.
status. I thought they
Yeah,
lost their village status,
they
and they
lost
had
their
to come
village
back.
status. Hyde Park still has its village. Hyde Park went from a village status to a township
Right.
because South Shore, at least where I live in South Shore, is actually part of Hyde Park Township.
Across 110th Street. Yes, there is we do have it 110th Street. Yes, we do.
Oh, and the farther out you go, the more interesting some of those street names get, whether you go north, south, or west.
Or east, or east too, because we got streets like Avenue M, Avenue Q, Avenue
oh, yeah, it's like they started going. You know what? We just ain't got no names. We gonna get to the alphabet. We just gonna do.
I was like, I have never really noticed that until I went over east, closer to Indiana, to the Indiana border. It's like, okay, I thought it was over here off of South Shore Drive, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, South Shore Drive ends. Here's route what is it, 41, and then next thing you know, it's like now approaching Avenue M, Avenue H, Avenue C. You're like, what?
It's like once you get past like over by me, it's exchange. But then once you get past, I think it's 79th Street or something, it goes from being exchange and it becomes commercial.
Right.
And you're entering into what was originally Marquette, the eastward part of Marquette Park,
Hmm.
which, was a suburb until the city said, oh, wait, taxes. You know?
No, no, I wouldn't say the city said, "Oh, wait, taxes." It's more like, "Oh, you can't." It's like your village government folded. Guess what? Come back to us. That's
We own you
again. There's a reason why they call it Crook County for nothing. They don't call it Crook County for nothing because, again, Crook County is like, yeah, we got all these so-called wannabe villages and suburbs and everything, but they don't last long because once that government collapse and they are not solvent,
the city takes them over. There are neighborhoods on the
time to.
north side, north and west of Humboldt Park, that are like that. There are some lovely little pocket neighborhoods,
Mhm.
and when you see them, they're very suburban, and you have the oatmeal at the cook kind of join us all. I don't know that.
I'm not going to ask. I'm not going to ask how you would know something
Because
like
the
that.
thing is, it is. Anybody who's known anybody who's been in the joint knows that oatmeal is, it's y'all growing that straight outside, and you have the raccoons picking it for you.
Y'all are hilarious. That's hilarious. Oh my goodness. But
Life
yeah.
in the city. But yes, you have a rant coming up.
No, I don't have a rant. It was just more along the lines we got kind of like sidetracked on last week's show where we didn't even get to the book because I was telling people about, hey, there's a reason why I threw this book the last time. And we was talking about, and then we talked about the other book that you already reviewed, which to me was a good. This I actually loved. I
I
actually loved this.
loved that book,
But
which is
this
why
is
I
what it would have
decided
been. Go ahead.
that's why I'm sending it to Cliff's Girls,
Yeah.
because I really love that book. And I thought, this is something his girls, especially because it talks about sisters and how sometimes, sisters can be both enemies, but they can also be allies and they can be friends. And I really love that book. And I actually like the Diana one too. So it's like, you know what? I'm going to send both.
Mhm. This is what I would envision if they would have stayed together as kids in the regular comic book
Yeah.
continuity. It would have been something like this, but no, that did not happen here. But as
You
I was
did not
saying,
marry your sister, Leia. Please, come on.
no, well,
Let's not go there.
no, 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 no. Recent. I'm up here. Is like I had to scratch my head there for a second. It's like she did not marry her biological sister. It was sister adjacent.
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing. That's a whole different story. But getting back to what we was talking about last week here. So yeah, I know that, but she might have not known that.
I didn't know it. So
That's
thank
why I
you.
said that's why I said the other person was sister adjacent.
Okay.
So anyway,
This is the first or the second Nubia.
no, this is the first novel
Okay.
that was written by the same writer and artist. This is the first book that I said that I was. That's like I literally threw this book because
That's
there
why.
was
So you
so
didn't
many.
like this one.
There were so many things that it indicated to me that the writers had no idea how to write a comic book character. Like I'm going to open it up again. It's like because I know you haven't read this one as of yet.
No, I haven't.
I mean, the story within itself is not bad, but it dated itself coming out the gate here.
Ah, okay.
But the first thing that we have happen, and this was like one of the first things that chapter wise that they showed in the previews for it.
Mm-hmm.
She's at a let me get to the big screen here. She's at a convenience store. The convenience store gets robbed and everything. And she's up here, thinking to herself, like, well, what I'm going to do is like they haven't seen her and everything, this, that, and the other. So she's kind of sneak off, and you know, the Robert had the gun in her friend's face and everything, and then she literally picks up a ATM machine, throws it, hits him dead center.
Damn.
He smacks against the wall.
That should have
Yeah,
killed him.
she asked if everybody's all right, and everybody's up here like oh, the money and this, that, and the other, and the other person called her a thief and whatnot, so she takes off. I'm up here like, she just killed a man.
Yeah.
She threw an ATM machine at full force, hit him dead in his chest,
And embedded in him in the wall.
It's like, that's how I say, it's like, this is why, they have no concept of writing a comic book characters and everything. But all of this was to say, was to show, young girls that, Nubia was supposed to be like the 16-year-old, 17-year-old teenager in
Full
this
of
book, and
anger
they're
and
trying to write.
hormones and whatnot. And it's like, no, because unless they made changes to Hippolyta, she would not. I mean, she threw a big enough fit with Diana leaving Themyscira, though supposedly Nubia was somewhere else, but she wasn't
No,
supposed.
that was the only thing that they followed from from the actual canon. It was that she was taken away, she was stolen.
Yeah, but even so,
And
who stole her wouldn't have let her go off into man's world at that age, unless they
not
were
not
looking
not
to
not
make
just
her a danger, because she'd have been too much of a danger to the outer world, let alone herself. She was too young and volatile at that age. I mean, that's what I like. They're 11 in the graphic novel I did. They're like 11. But you can see that sort of they're very hot-headed.
yeah.
And
This is part of the scene that really almost made me angry. It's like, she went to this one dance, and they had there were some other things that had happened, this, that, and the other. And her mothers, because it's like the mothers were in that type of a relationship and everything, and they were up here. It's like, well, you have to understand who you are. This, we're trying to do what's best to protect you and everything. And they was like, okay, fine, I'm going to make a call. One was going to make a call to kind of make things kind of like all right for her to understand exactly what she is and everything. So one, lo and behold, it's like, they call her downstairs, this, that, and the other. It's like, hey, we got a visitor that you want to meet here. So Diana shows
Diana.
up.
Ah, okay. And then Diana, they have to talk, and Diana sort of helps her chill.
Not just helps her chill, but tells her, it's like, no, you're my twin sister. And it's like, but you're older than me.
And they make her look older in that drawing, as if suddenly she was 90.
And then this is where they try to rewrite canon about how, as a baby, Nubia was stolen, and technically she was taken away from Themyscira by Ares, but Ares dropped her off in this other island that were pretty much made up of African Americans, which was one of the where one of the other tribes of Amazon actually lived at here, and she became the Wonder Woman over there.
Yeah, but she wouldn't have
Aries
been
left
in
her to
modern day New York.
right.
So yeah, they kind of they biffed it on that. They biffed it on that one.
So Hippolyta and everything, said, pretty much, Diana eventually, found her and everything like that, and kind of like trusted her in the care of these other two members of Themyscira. And this is when we find out that, oh yeah, I got another present for you. Here are the bracelets of submission to kind of dampen her power.
So she can't hurt people like that. You want to take? Oh, great! Hold on, I gotta show this.
I want to take over Madagascar.
Okay.
Madagascar.
Not sure how the. I don't know how the lemurs are gonna take that, but
Yeah.
we were talking about where she
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's
the other
like,
place that she was sent to. But like I said, even if Diana had found her, it still didn't make any sense because it's like, okay, Diana found her. Why not just take her back to Themyscira where she would be safe?
well, again, they made the whole book, and this is where the whole thing about the book dated itself, because there was talking about the protest that they went to, and somebody brought a gun and everything to that magnitude, and she stopped the gunman from doing any real harm and everything to that magnitude. And she had her first kiss and everything, and pretty much life was pretty much well and dandy.
Oh, she got her first kiss,
And
and suddenly her
I'm just
hormones
keeping
just evened
I'm
out.
just keeping my hands free right now, because I'm about to get ready to throw the book again.
I see why you said this. The second book was better, but the first one you just really didn't like it. I'm sitting here going, I don't think I after reading the first one, I don't think I would have bothered with the second.
The second one, to me, is where they should have started.
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't have bothered with the second one because the first one would have been like, okay, you know what? I see where you're going with it, but that's a trip I don't need to be on that trip.
See, the second one started off as like, they went, she and her friends went to a roller skating rink, and they were on their way back, and you have somebody that was kind of like driving out of pocket, and she goes ahead and stops and stop a major accident from happening here.
So she doesn't kill anybody. She's not endangering people.
Trying to do something
She's actually
helpful
doing
for a
something for the
change.
greater good. Yes.
Good, right? It's like, yeah, the car door got messed up, but yet she saved everybody in both cars by doing that.
And she
And
didn't there
doing
was no loss of life.
and in doing so, Diana shows up and everything, and she's up here trying to tell Diana, it's like, yeah, this, that, and the other, blah 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 blah. It's like, and you notice that she does not have the bracers on. She only puts on the bracers when when it is necessary, where her powers are really not needed. But this is when when she started to tell Diana about how she really was feeling inside. So this is getting back into like a lot of the lore and everything. So after everything was said and done, they talked about what actually happened, yada yada yada, and they ended up talking about family heritage, everything to that magnitude. So in the bigger scheme of things here, they figure out Diana figured out a way to bring everybody over
To Themyscira.
for her first trip to Themyscira.
Okay.
And one of the first people she met, Hippolyta.
Well, of course, that's mama. She should. Whoa, wait, hold
Yes,
on.
and yes,
Okay.
that was the thing. That was the thing that started making me really start paying attention to the book here,
Okay.
because even Hippolyta was like, no, this is not a welcome home to you, princess. Can a mother take a moment to welcome her daughter home. I'm paraphrasing it, but that's kind of like what she said here.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody was like, "Go on, go on." It's like it's an honor to meet you, your Majesty. Then she stopped her. It's like I will. That's like I will be more than happy to meet the princess later, but at this moment, a mother would very much like to meet her daughter. That's the scene right here.
Okay.
Because
But
she was up there, it's like, "Oh, it's nice to meet you, your Majesty." It's like, no,
I just want to see my baby girl right now.
girl, right?
I'm not queen right now. I'm just mom.
Yep. And then her response is like, "I would like that too," because she would have never known that Hippolyta was her actual true mother until, that's what I'm saying. It's like you did this jacked up origin in here, but this actually literally
That's
kind
the
of like.
book. That's the book they should have wrote and left it at just one.
Mhm. So this is where they're on Thermoscare, and they're she's up here trying to deal with everything that's going on here, and then that's when the dark secret about her started to rear up more so than anything, because she was actually feeling that happening back over in the States.
Something that Aries did to her.
Right.
Okay.
Now, everything it's like hunky dory. They was up here, they actually literally started her training. They actually started her with sword training and all this other stuff. And the thing that impressed me most here
Mm-hmm.
is that she actually fought Artemis
Ooh.
and was holding her own against Artemis. And she's up here thinking, it's like, no, it's like you beat the brakes out of it. It's like, no, it's like Artemis, like, no, you don't understand. I had to do what I had to do. I had to do what I had to do because your reflexes and stuff are good. You were well trained you're a natural at this. If I didn't
Ooh.
do X, Y, and Z, you would
You would
have
have had
beaten me.
me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So, and, she's up here, it's like trying to, really get used to being an Amazon princess. And then that's what, with all the doubt, all the stuff that was going on back in the States about how she felt about people there, the spirit that Aries put in her finally came out and actually, tried to take over her body. And she was actually feeling all of that. And eventually it did.
It took her over.
No, the darkness took over.
That's what I said. It took her over.
It left her in this one state here, and this was towards the end of the book that we really find out that it really took her over, because she went into this like one pond that was trying to separate the two and everything, and that the entity of Aries came back and started to fight everybody.
So that was the way to that was the way knowing
Yeah,
that
so
eventually she
yeah,
finally
she
it
was
was
fighting
Sarah.
everybody, like her adopted parents, everybody that was near and dear and close to her. Even the royal guards tried to come and try to help her parents and everything, but it wasn't until she was still in the well. Her actual body was still in the well, and she fought the entity directly, and that's how she became what she is today, which
Okay.
is the true prince, the true princess that she was supposed to become for the Amazons at this point.
Yay!
She fought the darkness that was in her. And then after it was all said and done, everybody came to her bedside after it was all said and done. It was like, now she's back to being whole the way that she's supposed to. And then, she didn't feel like she was out of place anymore, and now she found a place where she actually belongs. And her best friend goes off and starts to enjoy life.
Cool.
This book was so much better than this one, And the
Okay.
reason being is that they really finally applied the fact that she was truly an Amazon and was going back to the actual lore. They rewrote a lot of stuff. Don't get me wrong. This has nothing to do with the canon that's in the rest of the books, but for it to be a young adult graphic novel, this is something that you can hand over and be proud of, that other young girls can read and understand that being an Amazon, especially an Amazon princess, is not going to be easy. And
And an Amazon
understanding
princess of
yourself and
color.
understanding what you are yourself is so much more important than anything else here. So this one is a great read. This one, not
Not so
so much.
much.
Not
I
so
knew
much.
you're gonna
They
say
got
that.
overly political. They just did too much nonsense that took away from the character. This brought her back to her roots. And I
Okay.
appreciate the fact that they brought her back to her roots. Now I'm surprised that they allowed them to do a second graphic novel. And I believe the only reason why they allowed them to do a second graphic novel because this one got really overhyped. This one literally got overhyped and it sold a lot, but I don't think everybody was happy with it, which means that I don't think a lot of people went back to grab this one. And if you went back to grab this one, if you're a major comic book fan, especially a Wonder Woman fan, you would be greatly pleased with this one. Not so
Okay.
much with this one, but this one you would be pleased with
Well,
as a
then
whole.
I will look for Nubia to real next
Yeah,
time I've got some
yeah. The
money.
real one, it was just pretty much setting up the type of attitude and everything that they were trying to write for younger kids, and it just, to me, maybe because it's my age, maybe because I'm an old school Wonder Woman fan, it just didn't work. It just didn't work for me. Not to say that it was a really bad story. It was just not a comic book story. It's like they took too much liberties. And
And
I
they
think
did with the Diana and Nubia one, but at least they did it in a way. Um, it introduces younger readers, and like I said, boys and girls
mhm,
can read that book and get stuff out of it. Um, it because it focused on them, not the mascara as a whole, not this history, not the lore. It focused on them and this deep wish they would have had, as because you can imagine, since they didn't grow up together as little girls in societies that were primarily adult,
mhm.
they would have wished for, it would have been natural to wish for someone your own age that you could share jokes with and things, that wasn't always an adult who would share a joke with you until until you got too familiar, and then they would remind you that you were still a child. And so you would have somebody you could share those jokes and get in trouble and get out of trouble with. um like I said, it's not canon, but it was very enjoyable. And I just thought it was something, if you wanted to introduce younger kids to Wonder Woman and Nubia and whatnot, I thought it was a great book for that. And then as they get older and start getting into the comics, then they can get into the lore and understand. But it's a great, it's like those old classics illustrated. It's not the entire book, but it's enough to get you into the book so that you, when you're old enough to get some of the complexities and the subtleties, that you can get into it and appreciate it more.
Mhm.
But at least gives you a grounding in it as to who they were.
And that is the three people that were responsible for the first two books here. It's supposed to be a trilogy. I don't know if the third book is ever going to come out here.
It might not, or, because I'm thinking part, and also this is, I'm wondering how much of that first book was the marketing department trying to dictate
That
what
could
that
also
book
be that
was
could also
about.
be a part of it too.
Because I wonder how much of that was the marketing department, since we know a lot of marketing departments, whether it's film, television, or something, um, will, if they can, they're trying to dictate it because they think they know best.
Maybe.
you know.
And that what makes me think about the first book. But now this one just came out in 2025, so I was up here thinking it's like, yeah, if it's supposed to be a trilogy, 9 times out of 10, the majority of it would have been written by now. So either this year or next year, if they do come out with the last book.
And depending on how this book sold,
Mhm.
you know, DC may have said, well, let's step back and see, you know, what reviewers might say, you know, because they may look and say, well, who liked the first book?
They would have court.
Cornutus.
Oh my
That
goodness.
was her earlier thing about Madagascar.
Right.
But you know, so yeah, maybe someone in editorial went, you know, because I'm thinking enough people may have said things about the first book that the editorial team walked in and said, you know, maybe it wasn't smart letting this team dictate what that book was supposed to be about. And
Probably
had
so.
and sat down with that team and said, you know what, let's do this, and gave you in the second book which should have what it should have been in the first book to begin with, because it doesn't feel like it needed to be a 3 part. That book in its own, that it too real in its own, is a good standalone story,
Story. Yep.
and it doesn't really need a follow-up. It didn't need anything, and if I was reviewing it, I would say that alone is the story. You didn't need a, it's like the Diana Nubia. That one book was enough. You didn't need a story before, you didn't need a story after. That one book is enough. And I think sometimes people get a little too excited over the series idea, you know, and they don't think about what it takes to actually craft a good story. You
Well,
know, I
that
I I see a lot of ads on YouTube about, you know, have you got an idea for a story? Use Reedsy or blah blah blah, and
right.
all I have to do is tell the AI a couple of things, and it writes the story for me. It's like, and then you wonder why it's not selling. And
Exactly.
now Amazon is saying one author sent in 200 books in a year, AI written. So Amazon is actually toying with the idea of now charging for book submissions.
Yeah, because if
Just
we if people could write so-called novels that quickly, you're going to have to, because that will cut those who are not truly writers from having that second thought about trying to make money off of those books.
yeah, because you're not gonna, if you realize after you've paid for the software to write the book and then paid the other software to design your cover and whatnot, then and Amazon says, hey, do you have your, you know, and then you have to, and
Do
it's
you
like,
have
oh,
do you have a $250 or $300 submission fee for having a book on Kindle and whatever for our
also,
review process?
do you have barcode? Do you have your, you know, you have ISBN? And when are you copywriting this baby?
Mhm.
You know, so
They
Amazon
can't.
is,
They can't
huh?
copyright it. They can't copyright it.
No, well, um, it all depends. It all depends, because you can copyright it depending on how much of writing you claim you did. Now, if all you did was dictate the idea and had AI spit it out, and then you just edited parts, you can't. I think you can copyright it, but you have to say how much of this book is AI produced.
I always thought of based upon format. So if, like, for example, novels, you could probably get away with it, but anything that is an illustrated story, comic book, graphic novel cannot receive a copyright.
Yeah, no, I actually talked to the copyright office.
Mhm.
I gotta copyright my book and send them the $65. I actually
Mhm.
called the copyright office to say, hey, do I need to do this?
Yep.
Because
Mhm.
and they were like, yep, you got to do
No,
it. And
but I
this
thought
is,
about AI generated stuff. You cannot.
yeah, no, you can't. They will not take AI generated
Mhm.
art and stuff like that, because enough artists have screamed and hollered where they won't. But and like I said, even if you can slip in a novel, you still have to declare how much of that is AI written.
Mm-hmm.
And editing, and because a lot of people, I edited it. No, editing the book
It's
for
not writing.
spelling mistakes is not writing.
It's not writing.
That's a different, that is a different, for those of you who don't get it, editing a book and actually writing a book are two different animals. I do both, but not everybody edits, and not everybody proofreads, and not everybody writes. Some of us will do all of it. And even I have people who will look over things for me just in case I miss something. But it is, these are distinct different things that you're doing. And in editing, I can't edit Joe's anything that Joe's written and get up and say that's an Elaine Haygood book. It's like, no, I edited it. I did not write it.
That's a fight that she doesn't want. That's a fight that she really don't want. But Elaine knows that how much stuff I have edited prior to her becoming my editor for the comics here, because I have edited other people's comics, and I'm sitting up here as like the arguments and stuff that I got into it with artists that's like, why didn't you follow the script? Oh, I thought this would be more interesting. It's like, no, the script dictates this. Now, if you thought it would have been a little bit more exciting, then you should have came to me. We discuss, we figure it out.
Especially if you've got you're working in a team,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just doing the art, and then someone else is doing the lettering, someone else is doing the actual typesetting and stuff. When you're working in a team like that, where you're just doing, and are you just doing the pencils and the inking, and then someone else is doing the actual colors, you can't change, because then you have to sit down with the entire group and say, hey, I got an idea. This, I know we agreed that we're going to do this scene this way because it's in the script, but I was wondering. And then depending on how many people on that team, you have to give them time to go, okay, because now you're talking about changing their whole schedule, because you don't know, I know some people, depending on what part they do in a book, they may be working on 2 or 3 books at a time in a
Mm-hmm.
month. So if you want to just throw in a change out of nowhere, especially a scene, you've got that whole team now, you've screwed up their timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like if you're one person. And I, even as I'm working on stuff, I have to sit down and go, oh, I had this idea, but I have to think about how soon do I want to get this done? Is this really going, is it just because it's, there are things I'm sitting there going, is this going to improve it, or is it just different? If it's just different, I'm not going to think about it, because it's not improving it. And just going, wow, wouldn't it be more interesting if I did that? And it's like, okay, is that really going to improve the overall story or that particular scene, or is it just something different? It's something where it's closer to what other people would do. And then it might take me an extra week to work out, because then I got to make sure everything else that came before, it has to fit in with everything that came before it and everything that's coming after.
And that's one of the reasons why I stopped working with that said project after that had happened one too many times. Everybody got so enamored by the page that was penciled and inked, and I was like, and I'm up there like, no, go back and do it again. People got upset. Then they went over my head to the project manager and says like, yeah, I did this, that, and the other, blah 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 blah. And I come back, it's like they did not follow the script. Trust my judgment on this. They need to follow the script here. And again, we love the art, so why can't you just have the writer just redo the script? The point of the project is to follow project management methods here, which means that if that type of a change had happened in like a Marvel or a DC, that dude would have lost his job unless he could prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that it did not affect the story or the scripting, anything else.
and throw anybody else who's got two or three other books that they've got to do whatever they do for
Mhm.
by the end of the month, so so that the other books they're working on can be produced 2 months ahead of time.
And that's one of the reasons why I really stopped working on pro am stuff, because some people just don't understand that aspect here. They get caught up on the artwork. It's like the artwork is so pretty. It's like, yeah, it's pretty artwork, but it didn't follow the script.
It's one of the things you learn in film school when you're shooting these little student films, because
Mhm.
there's always that one person who will get up and say, "Hey, I know you're planning," some actors will get up and say, "Hey, I know you wrote this like this, but what if we," and you just sort of going, is there actual problem with the way the script is written? And you have to make them step back and go, "Well, no. Are you going to pay if this scene doesn't work and we've spent X amount of dollars and X amount of time shooting this scene and it does not work? Are you going to pay for that extra day it's going to cost for everybody to come and shoot the scene that was supposed to be here?" You really have to rein people in and go, excuse me, this is costing X amount of dollars every day. This is the budget. And there are some people who, because they've proven themselves as directors or as actors, Robin Williams was the type who, yeah, he'd read the script and then you'd let him go off. Jim Carrey was the same way. They read the script, they
Bill
knew
Murray.
where they knew where they had to come out at the end, and they might change the path a little, but they never did it to the point where you couldn't get what you needed for the day shot. And other actors would go, "Wow, that made it better, that made it more interesting," but they never did it in a way where they were they were at the top of their game when they were doing this stuff, so that you knew what you got was gold.
And with subtle changes, not drastic.
Yeah, they didn't
I
change
always
their character. They didn't come in they didn't walk in halfway through and go, "Hey, I decided he's going to be transgender with a lip and he's 8 feet tall."
no, they wasn't doing stuff like that. Like, for example, I always go back to Ghostbusters and Bill Murray. The skipping in the park or on the sidewalk where he was skipping along, that was all improvised.
Yeah,
He was not supposed to walk normally. He did this one little skip that, saw how nonchalant and how playful everything was. It's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, I really got over on this person. That was the thing that he conveyed. It was subtle. It didn't take away from what they were trying to do for the shoot. It worked.
and they were
Uh,
all at the same level of professionalism, so they knew if Bill made this change, they knew how to ride with it and not leave the story.
mhm.
And they trusted that Bill would stay within he might, Robin may change things, but he stayed within the parameters
Of
of
the
what they were
story.
of the story as they were trying. He knew what had came before. He understood. And for those who don't know, films are not shot in the order that you see them. So you might end up on your first day on set shooting the last scene of a movie and may not shoot the first scene in the movie until somewhere in the middle of the shoot. That's how things work. It's weird that way, but that's how it works.
Mhm.
So you have to go in, you know, as an actor, as a writer, as a director, whatever. You have to go in knowing how the story is. And if you have somebody, and that's why you could tell on certain movies where it's like, okay, he's just phoning it in, or you'll see a performance and it's not just there are some standout performances that make a movie shine, and there are some standout performances where you sit there, you're going, did they know
That was a
what
paycheck.
movie?
That was a
or
paycheck for
or
them.
worse, do you know what movie you're in? I have seen some movies. It's like, what movie were you shooting, baby? Because the dialogue dog you just spotted had nothing to do with great white sharks, or whatever it was. I have seen some movies. It's like, oh, child, do you even know what movie you're in? How high were you when you were shooting that scene? Because I don't think you know where you are. There's some people you feel like they're just kind of floating through
it,
it.
it makes me think about a lot of the things that they said about Orson Welles, especially on television shows, that he phoned a lot of them in. He was so drunk that he just phoned them
Oh,
in.
and but you know what? There used to be back in the day when I was younger, what we used to refer to as a functional drunk.
Mm-hmm,
And Hollywood had a lot of functional drunks. Um, who Richard Burton
mm-hmm.
was an incredible actor, but he was a serious lush. But and it's interesting because once the scene was over, they'd be sitting somewhere going, "Duh." And then and then somebody would come up and go, "Yo, Dick, dude, we getting ready to sing worst shit. This is the okay. Hello to the he would coming through the performance and stuff. Um, the best drunken performers were British for the most part. And I mean, I've seen interviews with British actors who went through stuff in their youth, and they will tell you, David Bowie is the best thing. There is a Bing Crosby used
Mm-hmm.
to do Christmas specials, and he got David Bowie on this one Christmas special, and they did a medley built around the Little Drummer Boy. Beautifully done. I keep it in my Prime Video watch list. You can find it on Prime Video because I keep it in my watch list. David Bowie in the 90s, early 2000s was asked about that, and he said, "I don't even remember having met him." Because he was so spaced out. Though, when you see it, and watch it. When you see it, he's very pleasant. They're having this conversation. He's asking, "What's it like in the Bowie household?" They're having this great conversation. They seem very relaxed with each other, and they do the song. Now, afterward, I'm sure when when Crosby realized he was whacked off his skull, he stomped off and bitched and moaned. Because what I didn't realize as a child is those specials, holiday specials, whatever, they were never shot all in a day.
Mm-hmm.
They were shot like a film. They would shoot this bit, then they would shoot, and they would shoot them in over a week or two. It would take months to write and work out the routines and rehearse and everything. And then they would take a week or so to shoot them. It wasn't this whole, they would present this as this whole thing from beginning to end. And
Like it was a live show, which it really wasn't.
Which it wasn't. It was usually, they might have a few performance parts where they had an audience. It's like, because they had people who, they had sound stages on the studio, and it's like, "Hey, you want to come in and see this shot?" And they would come in and do a dance number, and a dance number, whatever, and they would tape in front of the audience and go, "Ah!" And then people could go, and so and so from I would go, "Yeah, I got to see them do the dance. And wow, that, that fell off my line. I sure can kick high."
Oh my goodness!
But
I just have that was a good laugh for me. I needed that laugh because
yeah.
now you're making me think about, since you brought up British actors and possibly being drunk and whatnot. It's like I see all of these different documentaries about Benny Hill, and that was the one thing that I could never knew, that I never really understood, because no one really stated that if he was imbibed or not. Coming from a comedian that never married, never had a relationship one way or the other, he was pretty much, he always secluded himself unless he was at the studio.
unless he was at the studio and unless he was working. But also because the Brits didn't gossip beyond their industry the way they did here in America. And even in America, up until around the 80s or so, a lot of that stuff, especially around the old guard,
Hmm.
because they would have you had Rona Barrett and stuff, but even Rona Barrett never talked about anything that the studios and those involved or whatnot had already knew about and had approved of.
But
So
again,
outside,
it's like the personal life. His personal life would remain private, and I was like, this is weird because with as much scandalous stuff that he has done for the television, he did not have a scandalous life, and those who
no,
have lived around him even confirm he was he was not one of those people that really
very,
did
very
much of
quiet,
anything.
very quiet. And a lot of them are like that, very quiet, very reserved and whatnot. And then you got people like Tom Baker, Doctor Number Four, um, who there used to be. You can't find it nowadays, and I'm so sorry. My ex got it in as part of our breakup, and I never got the copy. There's an old picture they used to have of Tom Baker and a couple of his mates out in London with their pants down, whizzing into a manhole. But
Well, it wasn't just that. I just know a lot about his American visit and the scandals that led behind a lot of those American visits. If you get my drift here.
well, not just him, but there were, especially on the con circuit, you
Hmm.
had a lot of British actors, the guys from like Seven and other series of that time, who they would be very reserved in Britain, and then they get here and they were total crazy men because you could get away with stuff here
They were
that
lecherous here. I'm not going to miss words. They were kind of lecherous, very
oh,
lecherous
they were
here.
totally lecherous, and they would get away with stuff. But I will say, John Pertwee, Doctor Number Three, for those of you who don't know, uh, was a very total gentleman when I met him. He was sweet and kind, and he we were at Water Tower Place, and as I've said, I ran up a down escalator and damn near killed a lot of people to get up once I was going down this escalator, and I noticed him because I was at the con he was supposed to be at, and I'd seen Tom Baker and hadn't seen him. And coming down, I noticed him, and I got to the bottom, and that was Pertwee. Turned around and ran up it, and plowed through several people. And and luckily, once I caught my breath, though, the first words come out of my mouth was, "How's your wife?" Because I had read he had remarried, and in
Mhm.
Starlog, and it was like, I want to rip his clothes off. I want to rip his clothes off, and luckily, the more mature part of my brain said, "How's your wife?" And he's like, "Oh, she's fine. She's actually around here somewhere." And, and about 15 minutes later, his wife showed up.
Mhm.
And I was like, "Oh, I'm so glad I didn't, you know."
But again, I still picture as you were coming up the escalator and everything. You just had Ludacris playing in the background, move, get out the way, get out.
Except this was in what? This was in the 80s, so that
Right,
hadn't come out yet. But
can you just imagine an 80s remix of that? It's like
that would have been the song going through my head. Move, bitch, get
get out of the way.
my 20 something self. That's the song I would have been singing. But, um, it was a different time. But yeah, there were a lot of Martin Sheen has talked about, you know, um, in fact, if you anybody who's ever seen Apocalypse Now,
Mhm.
there's a scene where he's in a hotel room and he's high off his gourd. He's shooting this hotel room scene and he smashes a mirror and he is just whacked out of his brain. Dennis Hopper, how any of those guys actually, it's some of them, it's a wonder they lived as long as they did. Um, and the fact that they actually managed to get good performances because they were just so out of their skulls. Really. It was a wild time back then. It really was.
See, that makes me think it's like, yeah, we thought, back then it was wild, but the original days of Hollywood, I believe it would
Oh,
have been wilder.
oh yeah. They're my understanding was it was quite that there are things that, and like I said, once the studios got control and started building careers, they then controlled the narrative. You
And
know,
what was sad is that it even continued on into like the late 70s, early 80s, because
yeah.
I was looking at some older TV series and stuff like that. Like, for example, Dick Sargent
Oh, okay.
was on Tattletales with his quote unquote wife. I was like, now we know what he really is. It's like, but even then, it's like, wow, they even kept it up even
Yeah,
back then.
yeah. So yeah, it's like Don Knotts.
Hmm.
It was just one of those things. It
Oh,
was.
he kept his family at like, it's like Hollywood and his family it's like they were so far away from Hollywood that nobody knew what was going on with his family.
Yeah.
Only he did. He made certain of that.
There were smart actors who were very good about keeping whatever their lives were on their wraps. There were other actors where and there were actors, I keep forgetting, there were two male actors who they shared a house. And so the studio realized they would not break up. The studio tried to get them to break up. They refused to break up. They were a couple. So the studio then billed them as two single men who were sharing a house in order to make ends meet, as they were part of the studio system, and they were sharing a house to make ends meet. And it was sort of those plucky bachelors tiny little
Right.
things they would put out, so that because they were seen around town together. They were never seen kissing or anything like that, but they were seen always in each other's company,
Right.
or they were seen apart. And they were never seen unless it was something the studio, because the studio used to arrange things like, oh, your kid has come up in the studio, you're 17, you should be dating, here you're going to date this person. The studios would put people together as couples, and would fashion this whole life, and they would only see each other for these recorded dates that they had. In real life they couldn't stand each other. you
Hmm.
know but for the camera, if they wanted to keep working, they had to smile and act like this was the best thing ever, and oh my god, I can marry this person. And the minute the cameras are like, it's like, if I have to do this with you one more time, I swear one of us is going to be dead.
But that's being married to the studio. The literal definition of being married to the studio, because you couldn't get away with, well, technically today they still probably could, but that was a that act that the acting had to be a commitment to that studio from
Well,
day
I
one when
don't.
you signed that contract to when they let you go.
Well, it's interesting because I just read an article on Facebook about Kathy Bates after she won her Oscar. And usually by the time you wake up the morning after, your assistant or whatever has a list of 50 to 100 calls of offers. Can we take a meeting? Are you free? Can we do lunch? Can we do breakfast? Hey, can we fly you out? Her phone didn't ring. Um, it was as if, because she's a plus size actress,
Hmm.
and she's never she's one of those women who has never sort of been like, oh, I'll lose 50 pounds for the role. That's not her. That's not
Mhm.
who she is. That's not how she acts. And because of that, she got the Oscar because hello, she just has that talent. But Hollywood felt she wasn't leading late. She was over 40 for one, and then she was fat, and Hollywood just didn't know what to do with her. And because she was over 40 and fat, it's like, well, we just won't do anything. So she went out and made a career for herself,
Mhm.
you know, and then made and said, hey, you don't want me working in movies? I'll go back to Broadway. You know,
Go
they
back to
like me.
Broadway, pick up a television movie here
She
and
was
there, and
picking
that's
up
it.
stuff. She started directing, and then she got Horror Story, and she and Gabourey Sidibe were that season of the witches, because she was in the witches season. They were just gold.
That's another one
She's
that
another one where they didn't know
they
what to
didn't do
do.
her right with the Oscars for Precious.
Yeah, that
I'm up
she
here. It's
should have.
like it's a movie. To me that movie is hard to watch because it's a little bit too close
It's
to
too
home
real.
for like a
It's
lot of things that I know of that happen with other people.
mhm.
But at the same time, for Monique and her, it's like that movie put them on the map. There was
But
no turning back. They reached pinnacle of stardom because of that movie.
yeah, but for Monique, because she had built her career with the Parkers, it
Mhm.
was such a departure from Mama Parker.
No, she still played a mother, but it was a difference between a happy, joyful mother to this.
But I'm saying it's the 180 degrees from
Hmm.
the person she played on the Parkers.
Hmm.
And then so the questions are, well, which Monique are you? You know, and it's like, well, why don't you call her and set up a meeting and find out? But yeah, they then decided, you know what? We're going to show you what you're missing out on. We're going to play these characters. We're going to play these characters to the hilt. And y'all going to wish y'all had hired us. You know, so, it's been interesting to watch her career because I didn't know about that before,
I
and
forget
now to go back over the things I've seen her in,
because
because I loved her in that season of American Horror Story. She was
see, people
just
keep
gold.
forgetting about her in Empire too, because she was in Empire.
She was in Empire. She was in American Horror
Hmm.
Story. Um, I one of my favorite movies. It's based on that book, um, and it's one of the last movies that what's her name did, because Hugh Cronin's wife. It was one of she was coming up on the last movies that she was doing because her health was failing. And um fried
That's
green tomatoes. Fried green tomatoes.
wait, that's no relation to Walter, right?
Hugh Cronin?
Yeah,
No, no.
I'm
They're
about to say it's like how I was like, wait, Chekhov's wife
Jessica
is in?
Tandy. No, Jessica Tandy and Hugh Cronin were a couple. They met in Hollywood, became a couple, and they stayed a couple.
Okay.
And there was a time in which they were doing plays because they weren't getting movies or TV spots. And then suddenly, as they started getting into their golden years, suddenly they were hot in the 80s. And they did Cocoon, they did
That's why I was
Batteries
thinking,
Not.
that's why I was up here thinking Cocoon. It's like, were they in
They
Cocoon?
did Cocoon, they did Batteries Not Included. They had a whole list of movies that they did together. She then, as when he began to fail, she did Driving Miss Daisy with Morgan Freeman. And then years later, she did Fried Green Tomatoes with Kathy Bates
Why do
because the
people keep
story
forgetting about
she
Dan
tells,
Aykroyd in that movie?
Fried Green Tomatoes,
No, Driving Miss Daisy.
I think because his performance was good, but you know, you had Morgan Freeman and Jessica Tandy, and they kind of overshadowed the rest of the cast.
But if it wasn't for him, there would have never been a job for Morgan Freeman. that was the whole thing. It's like, yeah, it's like e- everybody likes the interaction between Tandy and Freeman, but it was more the interaction between Freeman and Aykroyd that really made the movie what it is.
From
Because
your
like,
point of view.
yeah, because to me it's like that was his mom.
Yeah, but
Not everybody could not everybody could be around his mom, and he made it perfectly clear.
but what people responded to
Hmm.
was that relationship.
The
They,
Tandy
in
Morgan
fact,
Freeman
they responded to it so much that when they did Quantum Leap, they did a version of that movie as a Quantum Leap episode.
episode. Yep, exactly.
So, but I loved her in Fried Green Tomatoes. And because especially at the when you're coming up towards the end of the movie, because she's telling Kathy Bates the story of when she was young and these two other women and this whole mystery, and she's telling her that story, and then Kathy Bates, as she's telling her that story, Kathy Bates is finding herself. She's coming into her own. She's learning who she is
Hmm.
through this story, and that scene where she comes back and the nurse is taking all because Tandy's character was at this nursing home because a friend of hers had gotten to where she couldn't live at home anymore, and her family had put her in the home, and she was afraid to be by herself. So Jessica Tandy tells her, "Yeah, I'm here because my friend got. I'm not here because I need to be here. I'm here because my friend is here, and I'm making it easier for her because she didn't want to be here by herself because she didn't know anybody." And that scene where Bates comes in and the nurse is taking all these little rose pictures that Tandy's character had affixed to the wall because she wanted it to feel like a rose garden
Hmm.
in her room. And the nurse is taking them off. And that look of panic on Kathy Bates's face because it's like, oh my God, she's dead. Because when she goes, where she goes? Oh, she's gone. You know, she's like, they really have to get it kind of.
You have to be
They
in the
have to
moment of the
they
movie
have to
to get
connect
the
it
thing.
and
Yeah.
go, oh no, she's not dead. She just left.
Hmm.
Because she just she's gone. And that look where, it's as if the world had just crashed in on her. And she
Hmm.
and that look just it was like, okay, you are forever going to be one of my favorite actresses because that look, you portrayed that whole situation with a look. I love that film. I love that film. I thought all the actresses in that film were wonderful. And I love the story. I love the story within the story. And then I also love the story because you see as Kathy Bates is going where she starts out as this sort of timid woman, and then where she ends up, where she's finding herself, she's finding her voice, she's renovating the house. Watanga! Wow! Smashing through those walls. She's like, I'm just gonna deal with it. I'm not gonna question. I'm gonna just sit here, sweet Jesus, take me home.
See, now I might have to take another look at Fried Green Tomatoes. That was definitely not a movie for me.
it
I
it
like
it was
Driving Miss
me.
Daisy. Driving Miss Daisy kind of made me angry a little bit, but I understood how much that relationship was.
And for the time in which it came about, the time at which it
I just
happens.
didn't like the jealousy that eventually came later on in the movie between Dan Aykroyd's character and Morgan Freeman, because again, you're the businessman, you're making all this so-called money, you could be doing this yourself.
It's almost like it may for a minute. There's that crazy part in my head that went to the Smother Brothers, you know, mom liked me best.
Right. And that's what it felt like.
It-
That's why I said that Dan Aykroyd's character was just so people want to minimize that, but that was an integral part of the story about building up that relationship between Jessica Tandy and Morgan Freeman. He was just as much as a part of that relationship than anything else, too.
you know, but it's as much as he was a part of it, like I said, it's not what people responded to. People
Exactly,
responded to
and
this
that's the hard
relationship.
pill to swallow for me, because it's like he was just as much as part of the whole relationship, because if it wasn't for him, those two would have never known one another. Morgan Freeman would have got a different job.
Yes. But my understanding was Aykroyd wasn't, he didn't bear either one of them any,
Right.
ill will. It was like, I got a job. I'm an actor. I love to act. I got a job and I got a job with them.
Right,
So,
exactly. I
you
got
know,
this upper echelon job that is not comedy.
yes,
But it's very rare that he does anything
it
that's
was
not comedy.
it was a step outside his comfort zone.
Mhm.
And my understanding is when they were first casting it, he was not their first choice
By no
because
means.
everybody was like, "You mean the Saturday Night Live Ghostbusters dude?" That's what people had known him for. And they were afraid that he would overshadow the film because the filmmaker's intention was the Tandy Freeman relationship, and he was secondary to that. And I originally the fear was that he would try to, he would improv or something and overshadow, try to turn it into the Dan Aykroyd show. Of course, and then he was able to appeal to them and say, no, that's not my intention. I've always wanted to work with her. I would like to work with him. And this gives me a chance to show people I can do more than
Mhm.
just be trick, because he'd done Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and other movies. So, but he was known as the comedy guy. So this was a
But yeah, Trading
chance.
Places, he really wasn't comedy all that much in Trading
He
Places.
was more the straight man to Eddie Murphy's
Murphy.
thing,
Mhm.
but at which he's really good at. He plays that upper prep school dude really, really well.
And that
Um,
what made him to play that Southerner extremely well. I was like, that shocked me.
but he had to convince them that he could play this part in such a way where he could give it weight, the weight they were looking for.
Mhm.
He could give it that grounded position without overshadowing what the producer and the director was
Mhm.
going for, that he was not going to turn it into Trading Places or a Saturday Night Live sketch or something,
It's
or
not like he had Jim
Ghostbusters.
Belushi. It's not like he had Jim Belushi, and if you want to make it into Blues Brothers, it's no way possible.
It wasn't Blues Brothers, but that's what he had come off of, and it kind of gave certain people
Mhm.
the feeling of, oh, this is not, we're not shooting that movie. This is our film. This is not a Dan Aykroyd film,
And to
you
think,
know.
to think he went from that to being Yogi Bear. I hate to say that because that was the next movie that I could think of that he was the star in. After that, it's like, yeah, he did a good supporting role for that. And then what came after that? The Yogi Bear live action movie where he was the voice of Yogi Bear.
You don't make, you know what, and also when I look at a lot of actors in regards to when you look at a career, because now when we look at Aykroyd and those guys, we can look at the career as a whole, from where they started to where they've gotten to. And sometimes you don't make, I mean, John Goodman had done, they'd done the Flintstones, and that was kind of successful. I'm trying to
It,
remember when the Flintstones came out.
it was rather successful, but then he went on to become Pop's Racer, and it wasn't all that great.
That wasn't
And
all
and
that
this is
great.
and to think from where he was with King Ralph to that, it was just like, eh.
It was too, but you know what the thing is sometimes you can't always tell when something's going to be a hit.
But Speed
There,
Racer
there
was a
is
good movie, though.
it. s- Sometimes there are things because you can make a good movie, but have things that overshadow it.
Mhm,
Um, Frankie and Johnny, which was based on the play.
mhm.
Frankie and Johnny at the Claire de Lune or something like that. Um, Alex Rose, who produced Norma Ray, which is the film that Sally Field got her first Oscar
Oscar
for.
for you. Mhm.
Frankie and Johnny. It's Al Pacino and what's her name who played the decent Catwoman. Um,
Oh,
Ron.
you talk about oh dang, I can't even think of her
No,
name now.
not I almost said Diane Cannon, and that's not
No,
who
it's
I
not
was.
Diane Cannon. You
Michelle
said
Pfeiffer.
Pfeiffer,
Michelle
yeah.
Pfeiffer.
You
Um,
see, I was thinking 1966 until you said blonde chick. It was like, oh, you talking about what we call it? Not Dangerous Minds. Oh shoot,
Michelle Pfeiffer.
yeah,
Um,
the high school flick that she was the teacher. The,
yeah,
that
but
one with the Coolio back with the Coolio soundtrack here.
it was, it was a good movie. It was, but it was a good little indie flick. Wasn't an Oscar winner, but it should have been a hit. Unfortunately, because it had solid performances all around. The problem was the weekend it came out at the theaters, the Anita Hill thing hit. They had just started the hearings with where Anita Hill was giving her
The Clarence
testimony.
Thomas hearing, and I'm still
Yes,
mad. I'm still mad at that Clarence Thomas hearing because you want to know why? Do you know
I don't.
why I'm mad at
He should have
Clarence
never.
Thomas hearing?
He should have never been put on the court, in my opinion. He should
Do,
have
you-
never
do,
been
do you
put on
do
the
you
court.
know why I'm still angry at the Clarence Thomas hearing?
Why? Why?
Who was on trial during that time?
It was supposed to be him, and not, oh,
Noriega was on
yeah.
trial during that time, so they gave us that drama, and they had him fill up all the
He
new
was
news
funny
lines
instead
and
of
everything. So we never
Noriega.
so the people in the general public would not know what actually happened with Noriega.
It was Noriega was a footnote, and that blew up. But the thing is, what I'm saying is because that blew up
Hmm.
that weekend, this little quirky, lovely romantic comedy tanked at the box office because women did not want to go see this movie because of what was going on. So the movie tanked. Luckily, they had VCRs because um, one of the, one of the jokes in the film is that Michelle Pfeiffer's character just wants to. She was abused in her last relationship. She was seriously abused, and now she just wants to be able to find a place where she can get good pizza and figure out how to program her VCR. You know, she's not trying to date. She doesn't want to date. She doesn't want to fall in love. She just wants to do her job and then go home, have pizza, and watch movies on TV. That's because she had the abuse she went through was so intense that
See now you're making me think about
she
that
wanted to shrink the
movie
life she
again.
was having. And like I said, it's a lovely, quirky little film. It's a great film. It talks about connection and real families, found families, how we, how even the most broken, because Al Pacino has spent what, 10 years or so in prison. He gets out of prison, he finds a job at this cafe where she's a waitress.
Oh, I was right. It was called Dangerous Minds. Okay.
Yeah. And, but, it should have been a hit. But like I said, and Alex has never recovered from it. It's like you got Sally Field, their first Oscar, but ask her what sticks in her craw most. The film that she wanted, that would have been her biggest, should have been her biggest commercial hit, got tanked. And
But
it's like
but like you said, that was
she had
circumstantial
no
throughout.
control of what was going on nationally, and it killed her film.
Hmm.
Only good thing is that summer, the following summer, it was one of the top video rentals at Blockbuster. Blockbuster listed it as one of their top video rentals. So what she lost in revenue
Mhm.
theatrically, she kind of recouped out of, well, the studio recouped in regards to rentals for the video and rentals and sales. But it just, that kind of, it was, it's something you don't have any control over, and the next thing you know, it's stalling your career. Because people are going, yeah, how'd that movie go?
Well, again, they not looking at that. It's like, how did that movie go at the box office? Because box office was king. Nobody knew that the rental market was going to blow up like it did too. Because now you got me thinking about the whole thing about what's her face playing Black Widow, and why she would never come back to Marvel Studios ever since that happened.
Oh yeah, well, I really felt her movie should not have come up when it did. It should have came out earlier. It should have come out much earlier in the lineup. They could have easily, after that second, after that Iron Man where she appears in, they could have squeezed her in there. That's where it should have been in the lineup. It would have made more sense doing it. And as an actor, the fact of her death was kind of stupid to me. And the girls who should have been fans of that
Well,
film,
no, the Black Widow movie came out during COVID, so it was before it was before the Avengers, before she died. I thought
no, it didn't come out
it
till
came.
after
So
it came.
the Avengers
It came out after Endgame.
Endgame came out before then.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It should have come out, it should have been earlier in the lineup.
If I had my choice, it should have came out after Iron Man 1 when they first introduced her.
She didn't get introduced to Iron Man 2.
I thought it was Iron Man
She wasn't in the
1.
first one. She wasn't in the first one. The first one was the setup. They introduced Rowdy in the first one. They introduced her in the second.
I could have sworn that she was the administrate. Well, again, I could be
She
blending the
plays the
two.
administrative she plays
Assistant
the secretary, but that's in the second film. It's not in the first film. It's in the
mhm.
second film. She's not in, I think if she's in the first, no, she's not in the first one. I think
No,
it's
because now it's like when I think about the first one, that's when we had what's his face here.
he's in the Middle East. They get attacked. He's taken hostage, and
He built the
he
heavy iron suit,
because he had to make
busting his way out of the bunker, and then he falls in the middle of nowhere.
and he finds out the guy who's running the company set him up.
Oh, you talk about Jebediah Stain,
Yeah, Jebediah had set him up.
which is parody of what actually tried to happen in the comic books, because him and Jebediah Stain ran two rival companies,
So but
and the Ironmonger opposed to the Iron
Iron
Man.
Man. But in the movie, it's
Right,
Jebediah's running a company, and and he's especially, he's trying to get rid of Tony.
but it was good to see Jeff Bridges though back.
Jeff Bridges, it was Jeff Bridges. He's one of those actors, and he's now it's interesting. The guys who were the wild and crazy guys of my youth are now the elder statesmen.
It's hard to see him playing Kevin Flynn now in the Tron movies, because the way he was in the original Tron movie, and then with Legacy, and I saw Ares.
I have not seen it yet. I was going to wait until after C2E2 to watch it, and that way I could do a review of it.
Okay, so I'm not going to ruin it. I talked about it, but I'm not. To me, it's more of those things that it's like this could be a pretty good reboot if they would address one elephant in the room.
Well, like I said, I have not watched it yet. I was going to watch it after C2E2 because it's like, you know what, I've got enough stuff to focus on right now,
Mhm.
and I have a family to
You,
deal with,
you would need to focus in on it. You would need to focus in
and
on it.
you know, and so it's like, you know what, I can do that after C2E2
Yeah.
and do it. But
Because
it's like I said, it's just interesting because I remember when people forget he was in a remake of King Kong.
yes, in the
And
80s.
Rene Auberjonois was in that one
Yeah,
with
the
him.
80s, the 80s remake of King
Was
Kong.
in the 80s remake of King
And
Kong.
that led to his breakout role in Jagged Edge.
Yes. Because, and I almost said Year of Living Dangerously. It's like, no, that's Mel Gibson. Um, and but it was when they were the wild men of the day. It's like, it's interesting. Like I said, it's interesting looking at the actors I grew up, because as a little kid, when you're watching all those black and white movies, you don't realize that most of those guys are either dead or very old.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until the Cotton Club got made, and because James Cagney is in the Cotton Club movie, he plays the Irish mobster, and it was like, that's James Cagney. No, that's not Jimmy Cagney. Because I had just watched Yankee Doodle Dandy a couple of weeks ago.
It's like, oh, so you grew up seeing Yankee Doodle Dandy first,
Oh yeah,
but you
because you
never
had
know gangster James Cagney,
no,
which I grew up with. I grew up with gangster James Cagney, and then see Yankee Doodle Dandy. Was like,
no, I had seen Each Dawn I Die,
mm-hmm,
which is one of my favorite Cagney films, where he plays he's the reporter
mm-hmm,
who was jailed. Because he won't I think he was jailed because he wouldn't give up a source or something like that.
exactly.
And it's supposed to be based on a real story. And his portrayal is so poignant. It's beautiful. I think that was one of the first ones I saw. Then I saw the one he did that was based on the life of Lon Chaney Sr.,
Mm-hmm.
and I can never remember what that movie is called. He did the biopic about Lon Chaney Sr. Um, and then there's the one where, and I can never remember the name of this film, but it's Top of the World, Ma. Everybody remembers that ending scene, Top of the World, Ma. And then because, you know, when movies were movies, WGN had several movie shows, late night and evening movie shows, especially over the weekend. And so,
Oh,
um,
weekends from what was it? For weekends from like I want to say from like
Saturday
5 p.m. 5 p.m. Saturday to maybe about like 12, 1 o'clock with just nothing
on
but movies.
Sunday, I did not know for the longest time that the Beatles had written the song Blackbird, because WGN, I think Saturday, the late night Saturday movie, when my mom would go out, I would sit up and watch movies all night.
Mm-hmm.
And the late movie, the end of that, they would play, they had gotten the rights to play, it wasn't the Beatles version. They did kind of a elevator music version of it,
Oh,
but I
okay.
still, it kind of had a jazzy feel. It was like, oh wow, I like that song. I wish I knew what that song was. And I think my aunt, we were watching the movie, and I was like, wow, I really like that song. She goes, that's a Beatles song. I'm like, no, it's not. She goes, yeah, it's a Beatles song. It's called Nightbird. And then she played it for me, and it was like, oh, but I hadn't, because it was one of those songs that, um, I think it was on the B side of that particular album. And unless it was late night rock and roll radio, you wouldn't have heard it.
Right.
They weren't playing it in the top 40. The daytime was top 40 hits, so you wouldn't have heard it on the daytime radio. WLS didn't play that during the day. You would have had to listen to late night or something like that.
That's if they played it at all.
If they played it at all, because it
Because
was the
back then there's certain songs off of albums that they would never play. They would given specific radio edits during that time, or
yeah,
or
B side.
45s that had just the singles that they wanted on the air.
Yeah, because it was the B side of the album,
Okay.
and usually B sides didn't get a lot of play unless it was that rare album where the whole album was a hit. Songs in the Key of Life, for
Yeah.
instance, where you had to really look to find a bad song in the album, or Superfly.
Yeah.
Curtis Mayfield's Superfly,
Well, that
which I
I was about to get ready to say that kids who are out there listening to this broadcast, there are very rare times that a B side made a artist career.
yes,
Curtis Mayfield and the
super
most infinite one. You know who the most infinite infamous one is, or infamous one is?
which
Vanilla Ice would not be Vanilla Ice if it wasn't for the B side of his first single.
oh, see, I'm not, I really
See,
couldn't,
Ice
I'm
Ice
not that.
Baby was the B side.
Oh, see, I thought that had been the A side,
No, that
but
was the B side. The A side was a re-envisioning of Casey's and the Sunshine's Band version of "Play That Funky Music."
holy crap!
That was the A side that they was counting on to make his career.
And
Radio
it's
stations, radio stations played it. People were okay about it. Then one station turned over to the B side and played "Ice Ice Baby," and
and
it took the airways by
history
storm.
was made. Yeah, but if you ever want to get albums that just about every song in that album is like, woo, Curtis Mayfield's Superfly, Stevie Wonder's Song in the Key of Life. Hello. Um, One of my favorites is, now I have weird musical tastes, so I would say, there's some Moody Blues albums, there's a couple of Jethro Tull albums, uh, Aretha Franklin. I don't think she's ever laid down a bad. I don't think Aretha Franklin has ever laid down a bad track. Nina Simone is someone else. I heard Michael Bublé do "Feeling Good." Then I heard Nina Simone do it, and it's like, okay, you know what, Mike? I like you, but hello. I'm sorry. There's a reason why she's top of my favorite list on Accurate Radio. We should do that one day. We should, you, me, and Cliff should sit down and do, and we can post it we can post it in the comment section. We
Mhm.
can do a list of our favorite albums.
See, that's going to be hard because I'm not a big
You're not a
album
big
fan.
music.
No, no,
Okay.
no. I'm a music fan, but not a big album fan. I'm more
Okay.
about singles and stuff because it's like when I think about albums, all the albums that I really know about, like the back of my hand, is like things like Prince albums, maybe a few Stevie Wonder. But I was never big on albums. I was more about
Janet
singles.
Jackson's Control is a great album. It is.
I
That
thought
was.
Rhythm Nation 2018 was better than
I
Control.
liked Control because it set the stage for Rhythm Nation. Because it was a way of her getting up and saying, hey, the little girl that was doing Good Times and was on the variety show with her brothers and stuff? That ain't me.
Mhm.
This is me. This is who I am. This is what I do. Either you're down with it or you're not. And what? Jimmy Jam? I mean,
Jimmy Jam and
hello?
Terry Lewis. Yep.
You know, I knew Minneapolis was in Minnesota. And when
But again, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis goes all the way back to Morris Day and the Time,
but
who
when
again would have never been formed without
Prince.
Prince.
But what I'm saying is, you think, when I think of Minneapolis, I mean, today it's different, but as a kid thinking Minneapolis, you think of just white folks going, "Yo, betcha."
You are not right for that. You're not right for that.
Tell me I'm wrong.
It's like you're a bet. It's like
Yo,
you're a
betcha.
betcha.
Yo,
You're
betcha.
a betcha. We got to go down to the Twin Cities to watch our favorite baseball team.
Here's the thing: Minneapolis, um, at one point was considered the whitest state in the nation because so many of the people in Minneapolis were of Nordic descent. So you had a lot of Swedes who settled in Minnesota, which is why you didn't just say Minnesota, it's a Minnesota. But you had a lot of sweets and stuff, and it was a different vibe, you know. Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Yes.
I, I'm gonna get a knock on my door tomorrow.
Oh wow.
The little Swedish guy's gonna be up there ready to fight. But you know, I, it. They literally they and Prince literally hit people to the fact that it wasn't just a bunch of white Swedish folks in Minneapolis, and that there were things going
Especially
on in Minneapolis.
especially during that time, the
Yeah,
70s and 80s. Yeah, they
they put
revolutionized the music scene during that time.
yeah, nobody would have thought, outside of some polkas, that they were producing anything in Minneapolis. So, as I love Rhythm Nation because, Rhythm Nation was, she and Michael at that point were kind of running MTV because they both had, when they had a video that dropped, it became an event. And Michael got he when he released that album, they turned it into a whole thing. It was a whole concept film piece. And she did something very similar. And I used to have both of those. I recorded them on video. I recorded them on video
See
cassette and then lost them, and
that
which I'm sad about because I love the Rhythm Nation one because there were things.
that's the reason why I consider it a better album, because you don't get people like Cab Calloway on an album, especially in the
That,
90s.
oh, that that cameo is adorable. I love that cameo, and you could see he was having fun with it. You
Hmm.
know, all right was that song, um, and it was fun. It was a fun piece. I think the song is called All Right.
Right.
It was called All Right, and because they're dressed in zoot suits and whatnot.
Hmm.
Um,
Exactly, because you had that. You had All Right. You had Black Cat, Escapade, the main title song, Rhythm, Rhythm Nation. What was some of the other? It was a whole bunch of them
and
that.
they were all hits. I
Hmm.
think other than one or two songs off that album, just about every song in that album at one point made the
and,
Billboard
and and
Top
that's what made,
40.
and that's the reason I say it was better than Control, because Control did it first. Don't get me wrong, Control
It,
did it first. Every song that was just about on that album was a hit. Because Control, you had Control, Pleasure Principle.
yes.
What have you
That's
done
when
for me
everybody was
lately?
making fun of her though, because they were like, "Oh, look, she's Janet Mailing Jackson," because she had changed her look for Pleasure Principle. She had the straightened hair
Mhm.
and everything,
It was
but
more like an Asian straight haircut style and everything,
and they
but
said, "Oh
she
yeah,
had fun because she proved that she could dance and everything to
she
that
could
matter.
dance and sing and that." And that's why I said, as much as I love Rhythm Nation, that was the album that said, "Hey, I am not just Michael's sister. I am my own woman. I am, because she had come up for some stuff, and that was her shout to the world to say, "Hey, I got my own thing.
Hmm.
I'm not Marie Osmond. And black. I'm not Marie Osmond in blackface because there was a point when they were all kids. Um, Magazines like Tiger Beat and whatnot were kind of like playing, yeah, the Jackson Five or in the Osmonds. They're kind of like just different versions of each other. The Osmonds are just like white Jacksons, and the Jacksons are like black Osmonds. So this was her way to say, "No, sweetie, I'm my own. I'm my own woman." Michael and I are not going to do a show together on ABC. We did that when we were kids for CBS, and I'm grown now. Thank
Hmm.
you. So and that's because she set the stage with that. I think if she had not gotten Control out, she wouldn't have gotten Rhythm Nation out. That's just a way. And it's 9:09.
Yep, it's 9 o'clock. I'm about to get ready to end it because I looked up. It's like, oh yeah, it's that time here to end things here.
I need to
So
go to sleep.
yeah, let me say this real quick here.
Hmm.
Next week it's going to be a little bit different here. I'm letting the people know. Elaine won't be here next week. She and I are going to get ready for C2E2. I will be here next week, and Cliff will be here next week. So it'll be a Cliff and Joe show as opposed to a Joe and Elaine show or Elaine and Joe show. I think it's more of Elaine and Joe than Joe and Elaine, but it's going to be a Cliff and Joe show next week, and then I think we'll be all together.
2 weeks after.
I want to say that would be April 2nd.
Yeah,
On
we
April
should
2nd,
be.
we'll be all back together again as one unit.
No, we'll be
Yeah,
all
April 2nd.
together.
Yeah.
We'll be okay because I thought
A-
he said he had an appointment that he had to make. But yeah, okay.
No,
So April,
that was the appointment. Today was the appointment.
and then he's free next week and the week
We
after.
right,
Okay.
yeah.
But yeah, so we'll be back. I will be back on the 2nd. It's just like I said, we are this year, we are debuting And the Coming of Nighttime Book One because the Kablam copies did make it
Yep.
finally, a month after, damn near. And I've got all those copies. And it's like they were supposed to be debuted last year at last year's C2E2. So we will debut them. And even though it says first edition, they will be a special
Come by
con.
Saturday.
Yeah,
Come by the
come
show.
by.
Come by the show Saturday. That's talking
What's
about the podcast Saturday
yeah.
for the desk because I have to make an announcement.
Okay. But yeah,
Just to give you an idea what the announcement could be. I do have something in my possession right now,
okay.
and we're going to try to make its debut the best that we can.
Okay. Is this the giant slayer? Got it. Well, I will be, along with copies of The Enslaved, I will have copies of And the Coming of Nighttime, Book One, that Kablam printed that we didn't get. But we will have them available. Come by, buy a copy. If I can prove that I can sell these copies successfully, maybe Ingram Spark will behave better and let me get my stuff finished with them without being all up my butt. I will tell you about it later because
Mhm.
I can't use that
Well,
language.
I'm counting on them once we get what you told me to wait until after C2E2 to complete.
Yeah, because
That's going to be the next major thing here, which
it's
is
going to cost me. I can create an author page there for free,
mhm,
but if I want to get on their distribution platform, it's going to cost me.
how much.
I have not talked to them about it because the deal they were trying to sell me as of 2 weeks ago
Uh,
included editing, proofreading, and all that. And it's like, well, that's all done. It's like, well, do you need your artwork fixed or anything? It's like, sweetie, it's a comic book. Okay, you go messing with my artwork, I might have to show up at your door and slap you. All of that is done. I just need the platform
mhm.
for selling it. And I might have to, and I will have to see how well the book sells. Because if it gets to it, I might just go to Comics Wellspring, order copies, and sell direct.
Right.
Set it up on our website that if people want to get stuff, they can get it directly from us. They can order it and then we'll ship out comics. I'm also thinking I might also, because I liked the posters that I got at FedEx Kinkos. They
Hmm.
were actually Kablam did some lovely posters, and I have those. I
Hmm.
also have more posters from Kinkos that I got done. So we will have comics, we will have the novel, we will have posters. We're gonna have little art. We're gonna have ATCs. So we'll have stuff, and then there's and of course, pose for candy. If you're there, come by booth 829.
Yes.
We'll be
She's
doing.
going to harass you about some poultry candy, but the major thing here,
I
we
got
got
lollipops.
she going to have lollipops and all the other stuff here. We're going to at least what I can say is like we're going to have at least 3 racks of comics that include graded stuff. And when
You
I
know,
say graded stuff, we're talking about graded versions of the comics like I have back here, plus custom covers that are signature series and graded as well.
I'm thinking what I might do. Um, I don't I for my own collection, I might send in a copy to get graded just so that I have it,
Mm-hmm.
but and not to sell, just so that it goes in my personal library.
It for display purposes, I get it.
You know, but
Just like I have now to sell my graded signature series copy of the original Amazonian one.
so
That's
so
it's very rare. It's very rare that I show it at shows now, but I do have it. I do bring it to shows from time to time, but I don't put it out there for sale. And if somebody really wanted it, they're going to have to pay a pretty penny for it.
also I've been folding origami cranes.
Yep.
So if you would like an origami crane, spend some money on a sister and you get one for free. You don't spend no money, you ain't getting no crane.
Okay.
You know,
So
besides evil that way.
okay, so let's go ahead and end it. So here we go.
Thank you once again. You should know by now who I am, but I'm Elaine Haygood. My website, lenscaponline.com. Of course, you can find videos that I've produced here on YouTube on my channel. You can find my blog on my website. If you want to drop me a line, get on the website, go down where it says contact us, name, email, drop a message. Hey, girl, I saw your show. Tell me more about your stuff, whatever. Guess what? Goes right to my email that I've set up to get that, and I'm the one who reads it. And I read everything as it comes in because that's my job. Anyway, thank you for being here again. We will be at C2E2 booth 829. And sorry, all the cobbler that I'm baking on Thursday has been spoken for. And if you want some, you're going to have to beat up George Gant or Afua Richardson. And you mess with Afua, I'm going to have to kill you. Okay. I'm going to have to go.
Or you could pay me $1,000 and I split it half and half with her.
you know, I'm going to go, was it Nubia Book One? I'm gonna go Nubia Book One and throw a
ATM machine out of
throw an
person.
ATM at you. But other than
But
that,
you have to admit, I am splitting the money with you. So you can't just say it's like, oh, I just gave it away. It's like, no, we made some profit off of it. As much as I wanted, I highly doubt that somebody will pay me a grand for it. But that's how much I actually really value the fact that you putting your effort into it. It's like, no, if you're going to put effort into it and you're going to be up here, but I really want it. $1,000. $1,000. Because again, it's like if you're not going to pay what was it, almost $30 for a small thing of fudge,
those
if
were
you want
several
her cobbler, you're
slices
going
of
to have to come
fudge.
out with some money.
I
You're
think
going to have
several
to give up
slices.
that. You're going to have to give up that amazing Spider-Man 300 to get some of Elaine's cobbler. I'm sorry.
And just so you know, he's coming by when he drops off my badge. When he drops off badges for me and Courtney, that's when he's getting his cobbler. So he's picking up his cobbler on Thursday. And so you actually, unless you show up at his house, you will not get any of that cobbler. And all the cobbler
That is
I'm
incorrect because I'm bringing food with me.
oh, okay. Well, he ain't gonna eat my cobbler. I'm gonna
I'm
be
going to eat the
hurt.
cobbler live in front of her unless that happens. If you're that serious, she gonna make some money because that ain't right. It's not right.
But yeah, I will be bringing cobbler Friday because I've already talked to Afua and asked her if she wanted some, and she's coming. She's going to be in Artist Alley. Look for her, and I'm taking her cobbler. If you try to touch her cobbler, she will let me know. I will find you. You don't want me to find you, okay? Don't mess with her cobbler. There will be blood.
No,
Anyway,
no, no, no. What did I tell you? What did I tell you? I told you you're going to give me the stabby stabby. I'm going to have it in a hidden spot in the booth. If something does happen, if it does really get that far out of hand, I'll be like, you know what? Here, have fun. And then you'd be like, oh, they took your cobbler? I got you.
oh baby, I'm gonna have an undercover stabby stabby. I got an undercover stabby stabby. So I
No,
got
but you
one.
have a favorite one though. You have a favorite one. That's
Yes,
all
and
you
it's
have
an
to do.
undercover. It is an undercover in plain sight stabby stabby.
Okay, okay.
And I will show it to you when you get there Friday. I'll
Yeah.
let you see it. But I will have it on me in such a way where the guards like, oh, okay, you just go on in. And I upgraded my wardrobe, so dark academia goes denim.
Mhm.
I'm having fun. I got blue jeans. And why didn't you ever tell about me about take K and G over there on 75th behind Family Dollar?
Because that K&G has been there for many moons. Because if you remember, well, you haven't been over there long enough. Because if you remember, K&G used to be next to a Staples, and Staples shut down a long time ago. So that's how long that K&G has been there. So
Well, I did not. I have seen it going in the Family Dollar, but I've never been in there until around my
see,
birthday.
see that Family Dollar used to be a Walgreens.
That used to be a Walgreens, yes. But I
So
went in K
mhm.
and G around my birthday. Courtney and I went in, and we were very, very pleasantly surprised. It was like an old K and G fashion over there on 76 back of
Right
it's
next to the
Austin,
jewels, next to the jewels.
right across from the jewels behind Family Dollar. They got nice clothes. They have a tailor on site. You find something don't fit right, they got a tailor on the premises.
Hmm.
Now that cheap ass place next door, don't go in there because them people don't even talk to you. Like they don't even talk to you when you walk in the door. They got a girl there at the checkout. You walk in, she greets you. If you got stuff, you shouldn't be carrying around to say, "Can you leave that there?" And when I asked for a pork pie, they didn't know what a pork pie hat was, but they did. They called it something else, and they showed me where I could find a hat, and I will be wearing it. I got a lovely hat. I'm gonna wear it for C2E2. It's not exactly a pork pie, but I'm happy with it. But anyway,
Hmm.
it's a lovely store. It's like those old fashioned stores. People know their inventory. They got a changing room. They talk to you
My
like you
only
got sense.
My only complaint is small. The building that the
It's
unit that they're in is small compared to how much stuff they have up in it. They have
but
too much stuff up in there for.
but they have it organized.
Hmm.
So
But
you can
it's still
find what
cramped. It
you're
still feel cramped up in there. That's
it
just.
didn't feel cramped to me, but you could find when you go next door and you can't even figure out what
I
half
don't
the
even go next door. I
sizes
don't.
are.
They don't even exist. They only exist for the younger folks that think that they're getting high fashion type deals. Like no, K&G is the place that you need to go because they always have the deals. If you need a shirt, if you need a belt, you could always walk up in there. It's like I up there. It's like I'm going to pay like let me go ahead and pay $15 for this one belt. I go up in there. I got like 3 belts for like $30. So I was like,
I
yeah,
got
I'm good.
I paid $24 for a pair of jeans
Hmm.
and they fit me and I loved it. And I got three pairs of jeans and I got Courtney something. And it's like the old fashioned stores
Like
that
the old
were
fashioned gold blats and stuff like that, where it's like you can buy
hey
it there.
honey,
And it's like even they don't have the tailor there, you could go to and they will recommend a tailor that you could take it to get it taken off.
but they got a tailor, they got fitting rooms. It is and you walk in, hey darling, what you looking for?
Hmm.
You can say, I'm looking for this. And it's, oh, it's over there. It's over here. When I was asking about the pork pie, he was like, well, we don't know what a pork pie is. And I found pictures on my phone and showing. It's like, oh, that's a duty. You find those over there. So they are helpful and they don't, some stores nowadays, you walk in and they look
Look
at
you
you
up
like
and
you,
down, and be like, "Pfft."
Yeah, like
Don't worry.
somehow you are, it's like your job is to deal with me as the customer. And I'm supposed to be signing off and I'm over here talking about clothes. Anyway. Anyway, y'all have a good one. I need to make myself some more tea and chill because I'm tired. Okay. Love you all. Look forward to seeing you on the 2nd. Because I got too much to do, baby. I'm sorry. If I can drop in next Thursday, I will, just to get up and scream. But other than that, no, I will see y'all on the 2nd. Y'all take care. Know we love you. We appreciate you. Stop by, drop us a line. Peace.
And that brings us to the fact that this episode of Comic Book Spectrum was brought to you by Plasma Fire Graphics. Trust me, if you really want Jeffrey Hayes to do your cover, why? Because you want an award-winning artist to do your cover, because it brings people to the table. It has people asking about your books here. And if you don't believe me in a Pulp Factory Award artist who have won at least 4 times for the covers that he did, just take a look at this video and you make up your mind yourself. It is like, this guy is good.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasma Fire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
You see those graphics? That could be on your book. So if you want it, go ahead and hit up Jeffrey Hayes at plasmafiregraphics.com or hit him up on his Facebook group for Plasma Fire Graphics. As I stated, I hinted what's going to be happening this Saturday. We will have a From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher on this Saturday, and we will have a mid-show review during C2E2. We might not start on time at 9, but it's going to be as close as 9 o'clock as possible here, because like I said, I have to get that show done and try to get some rest here. So I'm going to make certain that we talked about what's the goings on at C2E2 and everything on the following week. But this Saturday, we got some things to talk about. We got some books to let you know that came in. There's going to be a lot of quick, short, to the sweet, to the point. We might run just only an hour, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about within that 1 hour. So until then, live life, grow, and be well. And unlike our founder, Brian K. Morris, I don't care if you wash your hands, but never, and I do mean never, apologize for being awesome. I'll catch you right back here next week with Cliff on Comic Book Spectrum. Good night, everybody.